Welcome to Honest Hippie Homestead. It is summertime, so let's see what's going on with our summer 2025 garden. We started planning for our 2025 garden actually in the fall of 2024. This is a clip from back in October, and I am spacing out little pieces of garlic to plant and sow those to harvest in the springtime. I know this is taking it back a bit, but garden is a lot of planning and you have to think ahead before you get into all the physical labor of the actual garden. So in January and February, the time came around to start my seedlings inside. When starting my seedlings, I like to use these seed starter tray kits. I bought these on Amazon. I will make sure to link them in the description for you. These are a great way for you to start a lot of seeds in a very small space. This tray alone allows you to start 40 plants. The way that I like to start mine is to use these rapid rooter plugs that I also order on Amazon, so those will also be linked in the description. I like to use these rapid root plugs because I have really great success with getting germination with my seeds. The plugs come moist and they stay moist for a very long time, so you get that wet soil and humidity that your seeds need to germinate in these. I went through and planted a bunch of different types of peppers and tomatoes. This is all in January, and then in February, I started a bunch of different types of cucumbers. I also did a few different types of herbs for medicinal reasons and also to help with pest control in the garden. I planted all my seeds according to the packet directions and made sure to label what row of what, because I made a bunch, some for my own garden and some to sell, so I had to keep it straight what was what. Another benefit of this seed starting tray kit is that it comes with a tray and then you put water in, so it is self-watering. You don't have to water it very often during this germination and growing process. Put the lids into place, and the lids have lights in the top that you hook up to an electrical plug-in, so you get that light that you need for germination. After the seeds start growing, you do remove the lids and switch to grow lights, but you can see in a few weeks I had to go ahead and size into bigger pots from my plugs because my plants were growing and they just needed more room. So these are 3-inch pots that I transferred them to. And then when it got time closer to putting these in the ground, I started the hardening off process of spending a few hours at first outside in some cloud cover and then back inside underneath the grow lights, and increase that every day a little bit more hours, 2 hours, 4 hours, and build up all the way to an overnight stay. And then it was time to finally get these plants in the ground. While these baby plants were doing their thing and growing inside, it is time to also at the same time start working the ground. So we had one of our friends come over with his tractor, and this is just a disc attachment to his tractor. We have sandy loam soil. It's super easy to break up and work with, so he didn't have to do a big huge tiller or anything like that. He was able to use his disc attachment and just kind of break up and till this land that used to be farmers' fields. It already looks so much better with just one pass over. Now, we do have that really, really sandy soil, which is great for some crops to grow in, but not everything. So we had to come up with what we were going to do to the soil to amend it, and we decided to order a whole bunch of veggie organic compost. I ordered a 10-ton truck of compost because I have a half an acre size garden. It was overkill. I'll show you how much compost we had left over after we were done doing our rows, because I'm not composting the entire garden, just the rows of where my veggie plants are going to go. But you can see that this is nice, rich soil and full of so much more nutrients than what my sandy soil is. Now, with having that sand, it makes it really easy for a large truck like this to get stuck in our driveway. And I think this is like the 3rd or 4th truck that's been on our property that got stuck. But this guy, knew what he was doing, as obviously has happened to him before, and luckily he was able to get out and go on about his day. Now, with the new homestead comes new additions, and we added Drax to the homestead during this garden setup process. He is half Great Pyrenees and the other half Anatolian Shepherd. He came to us at 8 weeks old, and we are enjoying having this cute little fluff ball around. In Oklahoma, we ended up getting weeks and weeks of rain, so it packed down all that area that my friend had tilled for us. So we did have to end up getting our little motorized tiller that we have and do the rows. We didn't do the walkways in between, but my husband did redo the areas that we want to have rows to plant our vegetable plants. He did most of the hard work here while I kind of watched the dog, and then I did eventually jump in and grab my rake and go behind him and rake the rows. And Drax is always right there to lend a helping hand. And that's how a lot of the garden went. James did not all, but the majority of the hard physical labor. And then I spent most of my time coming back and doing the easy projects, but mostly filming the new dog. He's adorable. How could I not, though?
Hey, what are you doing?
So our process was to till the rows. I went back and raked all the grass or the stuff that was tilled up that we didn't want to stay in our vegetable rows. And then we spread compost, and we did it about 2 to 3 inches thick and about 14 inches wide. After we had the compost laid, it was time to start planting our plants. I think I ended up with about 30 tomato plants, 20 pepper plants, and 15 cucumbers, and we also planted a bunch of seeds. Here I am spacing out the tomato plants, and I just honestly Google how far apart I need to plant tomato plants, and I space them out in a row first. And then to plant the tomato plants, I dig the hole. I put a tiny bit of worm castings down in and mix it in with the sandy soil, and then 2 tablespoons of Epsom salt before I put the tomato in the ground and cover it with the dirt. The rest of the plants that I planted, I didn't use the Epsom salt, I used the worm casting only. So I dug a hole, put a tiny bit of the worm castings, mixed it up with the regular soil in the ground, and then planted all of my plants. And this was a lot of physical labor to get to this point, but after I was done planting all the plants that I'd grown from seedling, it was nice to take a step back and look at all the work that I had done over the last few months and planning to get up to this point. Now there are a few plants that do better with direct sowing, so we added a few more rows doing the same process, tilling, laying down the compost, but we planted okra, squash, watermelon, and cantaloupe as well in the garden. And as always, Drax is right there to help us through the whole process. After everything was planted, that's how much soil we have left over. So I definitely ordered way too much and ended up having to resell some of the soil. During this garden process, I got to play one of my favorite games in one of the Pyrenees groups that I'm in. It's called Where is the Pier? And you take a picture and everyone tries to find your pier hiding. Look at his cute, adorable face just watching me work in the garden. Now, with the garden, we haven't mulched yet. I haven't installed an irrigation system, so I will have to do an update video later. But this is what we started with, and you don't have to have everything finished all at once, but you can see even without all that, we have things growing well in our garden already. And we definitely look forward to the produce that we're going to get. During that garden process, we've also been ping-ponging back and forth between another project, which will be our next video. If you haven't already, subscribe so you can see what we're doing with this addition to the homestead.